Welcome to the Trend Detection Podcast, powered by Siemens. And now your host, Niall Sullivan.
Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Trend Detection Podcast. I'm really pleased to be joined by two of my colleagues in the Netherlands, Nienke and Jesper. And today we're it's part of an ongoing series we've been doing with a lot of our sort of regional colleagues, I guess. And we're looking at sort of readiness for predictive maintenance in the Netherlands, obviously in this case. And it follows on from similar conversations we've had with other regions, because we know, region to region, things could be completely different, the situation's completely different. And I think other regions can learn from each other as well in terms of the sort of, let's say, the attitudes and the culture towards predictive maintenance and digital transformation. But before we sort of dive into the topic, I'll hand over to Nienke and Jesper to introduce themselves. So maybe Nienke, you could start us off.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I'm Nienke Vergeer. I'm a digital innovation manager for IT/OT convergence within Siemens. And I've actually two kind of tasks. So one is just creating new propositions for digitalization with everything with data and IT/OT into the market. But otherwise also a little bit educating the market in what's possible and what we have and what we need and what their challenges are really about. Also the people side, not only technology, which most of the Siemens customers are used to. For us, as we only talk about technology. So yeah, that's me.
Excellent.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'll take over. I'm Jesper Verschoor, and I'm a team leader of the digital solutions team here in the Netherlands, and which is focusing on implementing a solution at our customers, and specifically, and there's a nice connection here, the proposition that Nienke is working on. We need to translate that into an implementation project and do the effort to realize the value for the question on the table. And specifically, we are also doing so for our Senseye customers in the Netherlands. So I hope to be able to contribute today with my personal experience as well in those projects.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for. So I'm really looking forward to the conversation. I'll say first of all that we've got a very experienced podcaster in Nienke and a slightly less experienced in Jesper. But I hope you both. But welcome both. Look forward to the conversation, I guess. So let's start off quite broad with the current state of readiness for predictive maintenance in the Netherlands. Where do you both sort of see that sitting at the moment?
Like the current readiness of predictive maintenance is quite a hard one because we see the interest is really there. We see the market changing, so it's a lot of talk about predictive maintenance, and that's digitalization in the overall thing. So if you talk about digitalization and doing stuff with data, it's top of mind. But we're really at the moment, I think, at the tipping point from just talking about it to really implementing it. And you see that also with predictive maintenance is one of the topics which are really hot topics at the moment, where you can improve really fast your factory and create really fast value out of it. So I think if you talk, for example, about AI, it's always going about or predictive maintenance or, for example, vision or, for example, just creating a different product development. It's maintenance, it's quality, that are the topics which are in the market now. Hot.
Yeah. No, exactly. So it's one amongst many different sort of use cases, I guess. Netherlands, Dutch companies are sort of looking at the moment as sort of key priorities.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but what you also see is like in the past, it always went about, okay, how can I produce more with high quality or lower price? That was it. At the moment, you also talk about sustainability. I'm going to lose a lot of people because I lose knowledge in my organization. How am I going to deal with a changing supply chain, for example, disruptions, war all over the world, which influence my business. So it's so much more. And predictive maintenance is one of the solutions which can give an answer to those challenges that they're dealing with.
Yeah, I think it's easy for someone like myself to forget who's so engrossed in sort of the predictive maintenance world that it's just one part of a very much wider picture as well. I was going to ask, are there particular industries within the Netherlands where you'd say predictive maintenance they're more say culturally ready, or where you're seeing more growth in terms of the adoption of predictive maintenance?
And we see it at the moment in like food and beverage. That's one a really big one. So food and beverage, you see direct influence, for example, for the market of, for example, ingredients, where stuff is changing. So non-quality costs is a big thing. So downtime is a big thing, and the knowledge depletion. So operators are harder and harder to find. So that's a big one. You same see it with heavy industry. So and there the sustainability topics pops directly up. So if you can do less maintenance or more efficient maintenance, I should say, you also be more sustainable. And yeah, they also of course have the people problem because hard manual labor is not from this time anymore. Let's say it that way. So and maybe Jesper, do you see also other stuff when you walk around with at the customers?
Yeah, I think I can merely confirm those observations that you just discussed. It's really something that you see during a project, where in the beginning, people are a bit reluctant. New technology, something new. What is this going to bring us? But along the way, when people get involved in what we are doing and learn more, they see the benefit of a system helping them in doing their daily work. The system is not really a big brother function, but it's watching with them. So for instance, where you have these manual inspection rounds going over shop floors to inspect equipment, that's a time-consuming task that is done sometimes rather frequently. Now it's as simple as opening up the technology, look at the cases that have been raised, and make your observations there. It can be done from everywhere. So that's really an efficiency gain there. But what I personally find more interesting is that this changed the attitude. Okay, how do I look at maintenance? Is it really something? Is it always a physical activity, or can I be proactive and think about what kind of data do I need to do my work better in the future, or more efficient or faster? All those conditions. And one more as well is the topic of knowledge and capturing that for future purpose and share it with your colleagues, where as you say, the knowledgeable people are going with retirement, knowledgeable with the experience built over years, many years of service. They go with retirement, new people come in. So what do we do with this knowledge? It's no longer as accessible. And if you start now with predictive maintenance, the solutions help you to capture that knowledge and reuse it at any time in the future and scale it over your factory and workforce. So I think that's definitely some interesting drivers that I see happening in practice.
I think that's really interesting. The last one, which you said, Jesper, is really interesting. I think you can compare it with creating instead of replacing people, because you do a little bit. We need to, because we cannot replace like the best technician who's leaving the company. So in this case, we create the next best technical colleague for you with a system, and that's called predictive maintenance. And this and it's also maybe for change management in those organizations to the mechanics which are walking around. It's probably really nice to have a new best colleague, an experienced colleague around you. And maybe that's also a way how you can see predictive maintenance as your new colleague.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And it's interesting because that sort of covers a topic we often talk about on the podcast, which is sort of the cultural shift required. So it's not just we'll buy some technology and the magic will happen, but there has to be, and you mentioned it, Jesper, about sort of maintenance practice, not even predictive maintenance, but it's having a mindset to evolve that and use the technology to support it. But so that's something you're sort of seeing change in the Netherlands over the past few years?
I think it's, from my experience, it's hard to say that as a whole region. I see this really happening inside the projects that we do, with the people we actually deal with. That's what I definitely can say. And I think from, in a broad perspective, transferring it to the whole nation, I think that, digitalization is becoming more and more important. The awareness that a cultural shift is required for a good implementation is also growing. So I think in general, we can say, the Netherlands is getting more ready.
Yeah, but I think it's something like the cultural shift is really, really important. It can really break the project. I've seen it happening like this week at a company which was not predictive maintenance, but it was another digitalization project. And they created a really amazing AI algorithm where the operators should work with. And the operators were just refusing it to do because all kind of reasons. We don't have time. I don't understand. Why should we do it? Really, the core resistance from people who are not used to technology and don't trust, in this case, the AI, because they don't understand it, what it does, and have a fear that they don't do their work properly anymore because they don't have control anymore of it. So how can you change, in this case, an organization, because you have like those experienced technical people you still have in your organization, because otherwise you cannot train the model, but they will retire in the future. But those people, how are you going to convince them to share their knowledge? How are you going to convince them that you do, for example, prediction, which may be better than their intuition and how they did it always in the past? So the battle you are dealing with is really confidence in what they're doing and telling them, maybe going to tell them you do it wrong. And they're proud of it because they were the heroes in the process, and now they give that part of the process to somebody else, or to a machine or an AI algorithm in this case. So that the hero effect depletes, and that's a hard one.
And from our, from a Senseye perspective, it's always what we found, and we've learned from hundreds of projects where we've been talking to one group of stakeholders, and then we get towards the end of the project, and maybe the users get involved, and then they're like, "Oh, we don't want to use this," and you get no adoption of the tool. So I guess how key is sort of stakeholder, multiple stakeholder engagement with a project, in order for it to be sort of successful.
It's totally key, because indeed, if when the user is going to use it, they can make it or break it, and the technology can is as good as you want, but if they don't use it, it's useless. So that's a really hard one. So I think a couple of things that are important. So leadership is really important. Really explaining why are we doing it, what is in for you, why should you change, what is in for the organization, what if we don't do it. So really talking over and over and over again the why, and in combination with, okay, if they work with it, show them success, let them be part of the success will change for them, and let them show that they, for example, that hero effect, when you have refixed the machine in the past, for example, when it broke down just in time, for example, and now you have, and then you are the hero because you can fix it and we can produce again and we can work together and it is amazing. And now you do it before, so the machine does not break down. So now nobody sees it. So you have to find a way to applaud for that too, because you have to change your hero and your hero behavior, and don't be silent about it. So that's a big success factor.
And of course, that's throughout the project. So from the initial discussions to sort of the pre-sale stage, and then I guess to where you're sort of responsible, Jesper. So in the implementation phase, equally you need the stakeholder buy-in then to successfully deploy and hopefully expand at a later stage as well.
Yeah, definitely. So from the beginning, you involve key stakeholders in both the management of the factory, but you work together a lot with the traditional maintenance crew, and ideally with the crew and not with an individual, because it's also something that needs to be carried among a whole group. It's not just a cultural change when you have one person in the team on board, and you need to work with that whole team to lay the foundation, because especially if you're going to scale in the future, you need this base of understanding and of willingness and invested people that believe that this is the way forward. And that's what we spend a lot of time on. So if we do activities, we invite the whole crew, and yes, we understand that there is also the daily schedule and planning and things that come up. So it's not always possible, but then we aim to rotate the crew that's involved in our meetings, especially in what we call design meetings, to set up the machine data passports to be able to capture the most interesting failure modes recorded in the past. And alongside, besides that in-depth work on the technical level, we have the regular meetings with the project sponsors, with the more production managers, people that are impacted by the potential value of what we are trying to achieve. So those people we have on the table as well. A bit less frequent, of course, because they don't need to know every day's activities, but on a regular basis, every couple of weeks or so, we have meetings with them. It also helps because you learn that when we share successes and tell them what we are doing, that they will tell on their network of colleagues what this exciting project is about. And that's when I think the scaling is starting. It's spreading the word, and then reaching success is just confirming the promise in the end. And that it's allowing to scale up.
I was just thinking, going back, I think it's something you said earlier, Jesper, about how maybe at the beginning, early conversation, there's a lot of sort of education required, overcoming objections and that kind of thing. Can we maybe, or both of you, sort of explore that a little bit more? Like what type of objections do you sort of hear when talking to potential customers or customers?
I think Nienke already described one is the mistrust in technology, and I have to think about it a little bit more. Maybe Nienke, you can step in for a second and I can think about it.
That's good.
Yeah, sure. The things where which are a struggle, I think, in when you want to start with predictive maintenance, is indeed how to trust technology. Really, people how we are evolutionary formed is that we always frame our world, because we always want to understand our world, and sometimes those frames does not fit or is not real anymore. Because when we talk about future technology, people have to reframe their vision of how the world works. So if they worked, for example, in a factory for quite some time in one particular way, and they believe that is the way to go, and you're going to tell, okay, the technology is advanced and you can do it like that, they need to have the time to understand that and reframe their world again. And I think that's the one where Jesper is referring to, how as some people are accepting technology faster than other people, and also in different levels in the organization. So first you're going to talk, for example, with higher management, and they're most of the time in digitalization's mindset way further than if you go lower in the operational factory, because it goes from visionary to day-to-day work, every step you take inside the factory. So that also means that how further you go along those steps in the factory, you have to take them. They need to reframe their word even more and more and more. So that is a hard one where you have to take care of. And in combination of there are so many challenges. So if you go a little bit back to high management, there are so many challenges where they have to deal with. Why should you choose predictive maintenance as the first one to invest in, for example? Because they also have like quality issues. They also have like sustainability issues. They have why this one first, and why is this one to make more impact? And then you go back to technology. We don't understand them all. There are so much technologies. The technology is going so fast. How do you know where to choose for? In what moment in time?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Jesper, mate,
Yeah.
hope you've had time to.
Yeah. I have it on mind now. So what we experience with early on in projects is that when you talk to maintenance engineers, that their first response is often like, yeah, but we do have a data historian, and if something is wrong, we look at the data, so we do this already. Why do we need a new technology for this? And then actually working along with them and explaining that this is a system that can help you do this, not only interpret the data, but also do it on scale. So it's and that's in advance and not when there is something going wrong right now. Because and then some people can say, okay, but I occasionally open up our data historian, I scroll through the data and look for anomalies. And then typically what you then can answer is, okay, but for how many assets can you do that? How many signals can you manually analyze? Yeah, that's only a handful. And when you are in busy times, that definitely happens at some customers. They do have planned maintenance routines, but in practice, there are so many how you say, bestoringen, errors that they come in circles when they don't have time anymore for their planned maintenance activities, and it's a never-ending story. So a solution to help you with predictive maintenance and the analytics in there that helps to do it on scale.
Just to pick up on, I guess, one comment from there is, and this is something that's probably more common than I thought, but is there a bit of confusion over condition monitoring and predictive maintenance, and where one starts, where one ends? Are they the same thing? Is that something that's common in the Netherlands as well?
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. What's predictive maintenance? You have like 1,000 explanations and also offerings from all over the market, which say that they're predictive maintenance, but not all. Yeah, some are condition-based monitoring, some are just maintenance. It's process planning. Some is just a sensor. It's depending so and we make it hard for the market. Altogether with every supplier which does something with predictive maintenance, because predictive maintenance just sounds cool.
I mean, it's funny you mentioned that actually, because I've being in marketing is an interesting viewpoint on this, because I've been sort of in this industry, I guess, really for 3.5 years, and I've noticed when I started, predictive maintenance was still this sort of underground, not quite underground but not quite mainstream. But I feel going around an event, I'll see everything called predictive maintenance. To your point, Nienke, and and what it does, it makes it harder to sort of stand out in a market where everyone's doing the same thing. Well, it's harder for the customer, actually. That's the main thing, of course. That how are they, and it makes it harder when you're speaking to customers, presumably, because they're like, "Oh, I've been offered this tool that does it, maybe does it quicker or whatever they suggest, but it's not the same, and they're not comparing the same things." That must be quite challenging in itself.
Yeah, but I think this is the hardest one for us. It's just an inconvenience, but for the customer, it's a really hard one, because you really have to invest in a technology that you don't understand totally yet, and then you find out that everybody means something else.
Yeah, and of course, customers, what they're doing internally, I guess, if they're keen to run a predictive maintenance program, they need to build, like, as we were saying before, like a consensus among different colleagues and get buy-in from everyone. So it's very difficult when there's so many different options and routes to go down. No one wants to do the wrong thing or choose the wrong thing. But so you're right. For the customer, primarily, is where the confusion is, I think.
And sometimes it's also what do you really need? Because not every company needs full-on predictive maintenance. Sometimes, when you're, for example, a small, medium-sized organization, condition-based monitoring or remote maintenance is just enough. So it's also really depending, what do you really need? Do you like, and where's your business case, for example?
Yeah, and I know that was one of our sort of topics we wanted to cover, but is there, and you're completely right, not everyone, maybe that's an assumption as well, that everyone should look at predictive maintenance, but I guess are there sort of barriers to entry for predictive maintenance for SMEs, or, like you said, is there a pathway through, maybe starting with condition-based monitoring and then going from there?
I don't know, do you hear the peep around me? But
Yeah, we hear the beep.
Okay, amazing. Then we just ignore it. It's not there. No, can you ask your question again? Sorry.
No, that's okay. So no, because we were talking about SMEs, you mentioned SMEs, and that's one of the questions on our list. So it's really about, are there big barriers to entry into predictive maintenance, or is it a case of what you were describing there, that actually it's not? It might be applicable one day, but you could get started with something like condition-based monitoring, and then go from there. But I don't know what both of your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think if you look, for example, to the difference to SMEs and user companies, they both struggle with digitalization, and predictive maintenance is one of them. But they both have a different problem. So, for example, for SMEs, it's just starting up, because business as usual rules over there. So you have to produce. You have also always have everything going on. You have to keep your company up, because with the amount of people you have. For the bigger companies, scalability is the problem. So in the end, we see most of the time they go even as fast when the SMEs started up as the bigger companies, because they slow down in the end. So the hockey sticks goes differently if you look to digitalization over there. So if you look for SMEs, the starting point is they're really creating digitalization strategy, and not only digitalization, but just the strategy where you want to go and what part can digitalization help with it. And if you, for example, you're a machine builder and you want to do something with predictive maintenance, that can be, but then your business model has to change. So you have to change your organization into a service-oriented organization, and include, for example, the servitization strategy where predictive maintenance can be part of. or when you're a small producer, look where the business case is. And sometimes predictive maintenance is too huge for you, and doesn't go. It's too big. It's fixed too much for what it delivers you, and then you can make, for example, the different choice.
Thanks.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
sorry, Jesper. There you go.
Yeah, sure. And then the different choice indeed could be like a less big of a implementation, whereas, for instance, a condition monitoring solution could be more than fine to address those issues and have a more healthy business case compared to the investment or the change required in your organization, as Nienke just explained.
Yeah.
And I guess a lot of it comes back, like you said, to prioritization of resources. That's one thing in a big company when there's loads of priorities and it's which one to look at first. But I guess it becomes more of a resource-based issue, for SMEs, right? I guess that's what we're
Absolutely.
looking at there. Yeah.
Yeah. You have like a resource and a priority combination, because, for example, most of the bigger producing companies have, because they have a little bit more resources, also a bigger buffer to invest in something, and not everybody has influence on the production line, for example, or on the income. So they also have business development. They have like different innovational careers in the organization, where they can, innovate, and not have a job which is day to day connected to the income of the company, but for the long term income of the company. And in SMEs, you just see that less. So every position has an influence on the short term income. And do you have the resource to position someone to have influence on only the long term income?
Yeah, it's true. And they're the kind of decisions that have to be made every day. So so sometimes difficult. Yeah, so some projects have to be prioritised, others, and that means others are deprioritised, and that can sometimes be predictive maintenance or digitalisation side of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So as we're sort of coming towards the end of our conversation, I just wanted to sort of summarise where we are. We've covered a lot of great ground, but where do you see, I guess, sort of predictive maintenance adoption going in the next? So it's pretty difficult. 5-10 years, anything could happen in 5 years, as we know in the world. But from where we are today, where do we see sort of this predictive maintenance topic going, and particularly obviously in the Netherlands in this case?
Yeah.
I don't know what you think, Jesper, but I hope
Yeah, exactly.
it
I
will
wanted
be a
to.
mainstream. Yeah, I hope it will be a mainstream technology, and now we're starting with the early adopters.
Yeah, I was thinking on expressing my hopes as well. Because it's very hard to look into the future. Because in the industry, difficult times may come at the moment, so budgets may become different. This is a threat, but at the same time, it's a big opportunity for predictive maintenance, because we can truly achieve cost reductions in the long term. So I think we should we go for it. We are going to help the market and implement predictive maintenance for them. Yeah.
Yeah, and something needs to happen. If you, for example, look, I think a couple of weeks ago there was like a report from one of the big banks in the Netherlands, and they said actually that at the moment we have like a productivity increase of 2%. So we have to in combination with replacing people, etc. But based on the challenges we have in the coming 10 years, we have to create 50% of productivity in people. And then if that is the prognosis, we don't have 50% increase of productivity of people. So then you have to look in how are we going to break this trend, and how we're going to do this with technology. So a huge problem is coming up, and we're not going to fix it only people anymore. Yeah.
That's an amazing.
And I hope predictive maintenance can be part of the solution.
Exactly. That's an amazing statistic, by the way. That gap, that is quite a gap to fill. I mean, actually, one thing, I always do this on the podcast. I say final question, then I ask another question. So I'll do that. Continued edition. But we haven't talked about sort of generative AI as well, and it's just interesting because you mentioned that jump. Can you generative AI technologies can play a key role in, I mean, AI in general, actually, but more specifically Gen AI, with co-pilots and things like that playing a more important role.
I think Gen AI is of a huge importance. In case of predictive maintenance, it's a huge importance of the implementation and the cultural adoption. Because if you look to the skills of people, we have to do less. We have to do more with less people. So that also means that the priority is shifting, and it means also that they will know less about some things and will become more generalists. And Gen AI can be a solution to make that happen. And because to make certain tasks which were for specialized people can be done by generalists, because Gen AI can be used as like UX or like your friend to communicate with, for example, really complex graphs. When in the past you need to have the ability to look to data, to be almost a data scientist as a mechanical engineer. Yeah.
No, and yet, I mean, Jesper, do you have your view on the Gen AI topic?
Yeah, exactly the same thing. On the topic of doing the job more efficiently, whereas in the past you had to look up the manual, download it, Google it, look it in the closet, and now you can just ask the same system, hey, I have this fault, what does the manual say about it? And it will just prompt it in a second, the answer. And I think that's efficiency of reaching the gap from 2 to 50% easily. I think the role's big.
Yeah, that's a really good example actually of where you can instantly save time. But and I guess to summarise on that as well, it also shows that it's not just a technology thing, but it's a combination of the two. It's not like the common conversation around AI is it's replacing you, but actually the really positive way is to look at it is they can work together to improve that big productivity gap you were talking about, Nienke.
With a different skill set, you can do the same work.
Yeah, that's good.
In the faster.
That's a good way to summarise it. Yeah, actually, I like that. But yeah, no. Thank you both. I think we've sort of come to the end. I know, Nienke, in particular, you're quite active on LinkedIn, so if people want to follow you and you post some really great content on there. So we could put.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we could put. I don't know, Jesper, you active on LinkedIn or other channels?
Yes, you can surely find me there, and I will be reposting the Nienke's posts.
Let Nienke do the hard work.
If Nienke does this job as she's doing right now, it means more busy times for us coming up. So
exactly,
looking forward.
Exactly. Brilliant.
Thanks.
So we'll we'll add the links to your profile so people can connect and maybe ask more questions around this topic. But yeah, for today, I think we've come to the end. So thank you both for taking part. It's been great. Have to invite you back on again. That's something we always do with guests we like, of course. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, exactly. You got the invite. Thank you for joining, and see everyone else who's listening wherever you are on the next episode. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes.
Please like and subscribe on all major podcast channels and find out more about Senseye Predictive Maintenance at Siemens.com.